Okay, in this next part, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set up the lights, and we should be good to go, and of course animate them. And they fade in and fade out, so their intensity there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, again, go back to frame 1, and this is going to be used with an empty object. So I'm going to go ahead and do Shift-C, get my 3D cursor centered at my world. To make it a little easier for this demonstration here, I'm just going to go ahead and do something. You don't need to do this. I'm just going to go ahead and do a little setting here, so that way it's easier for you to see objects coming in and out here in the world. I'm going to make the ground plane not bright white, so it's a little easier on your eyes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do Shift-C to center my 3D cursor. Shift-A, I'm going to add in an empty object, and it's going to be a plane axis. Let me zoom in on that. Okay, so there it is there. I'm going to rename this empty object, so I'm going to come over here to the outliner view, and I'm going to go ahead and call this, 3 lights. I'll call it 3 point light control. Okay, so we're going to use this empty object to animate 3 point lights incredibly easily. Alright, so we've renamed it. It's called 3 point light control. It's at the center of our world. I really want those to be happening right where the 3D is, so I'm probably going to move it over a little bit, but for now I'm going to leave it here. Okay, so now I need to bring in my first point light. So I'm going to do Shift-A. If your 3D cursor got moved, press Shift-C first. I'm now going to do Shift-A. I'm going to go down here to the lamp option, and I'm going to choose a point lamp, point light. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move it off to the side. It's on the x-axis. And I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side, and you'll see that I'm on the lamp panel. And right now the light is simply just called point. I'm going to go ahead and double-click. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and name this with whatever color you plan on making it to be. And these 3 colors, they are your choice. If you don't know, you could also just do point 1, point 2, and point 3. So if you don't know what color you want, you can just do a generic name like point 1, point 2, point 3. So I'm going to go ahead and call this point 1. And you can see it's selected here. In the bottom left-hand corner of my 3D window, it says point 1. And I'm going to change the color of it. I'm going to go ahead and advance my timeline so you can see the ground plane. And the color is white, and that's this white color that you're seeing over here, right here. And you can see it's the 3D is reflecting it now because it's being lit up by that point light. So the color is white and the strength is 100, which seems pretty cool because it's all bright and flashy. But when we bring in 2 others and they're each at 100 strength, that's going to be a lot of light in our scene. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down to about, let's see what 50 looks like. So 50 is pretty good. We don't get as bright of a spot. So I think 50 is going to be probably the magic number here. Okay, and of course if I lift the lamp up a little bit, you'll see that it moves the shine up. So now I have the shine on the upper right hand. Bring it up a little bit more. Okay, so something like that. You'll also notice that I'm not getting such a super hot spot on the ground plane. So that's good. I like that. I'm getting some decent shine here. Okay, so I like the height of the lamp. I'm just not crazy about the white color. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And again, you guys choose your own colors here. I might choose a little bit of a, you can see if I change it to green, change it to turquoise, you'll see the lamp is affecting that. I'm going to stay away from blue. Blue is actually my floor. I'm going to go ahead and maybe make it give it kind of a light pinkish red color. Something like that. Okay, so that's going to be my first point light. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called parenting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent this light to this empty object, the one that's called the 3-point control. And what that means is parent just means that it's going to attach. So a the empty here will become the parent object, and the lamp will become what's known as the child object. And unlike in real life, when you have a parent and a child digitally, the child always does what the parent says. And so wherever I move this parent, if I move the parent, or if I rotate the parent, or if I scale the parent, the child will absolutely follow. The child can also move independently of the parent, but when the parent does something, the child always follows it. Again, this does not happen in real life. Okay, so the way, that's my wife laughing at my lame jokes. So what I'm going to do is, to parent something, you have to first select the object that's going to be the child object. So I've got the light selected. Then I'm going to shift, right click, and select the object that's going to be the parent. Then to parent, you press Control and P, and it says set parent to, and you're going to choose object. Okay? Alright, so with that done, now here's the real test. You'll notice that there's now a dashed line connecting the lamp object, which is our child, to the empty, which is our parent. And to really see if this works, I'm going to select the parent, I'm going to press G and just move it around, and you'll notice that the light, the lamp, the point light follows it. It follows it in the 3D space, and if you're watching my camera view, you'll see that it moves around as well. I'm going to press Escape to get out of that, and there we go. So that is super awesome. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the other 2 point lights, and here's the tip and the advantage. You set up your first point light. You set up the name, the color, everything, the parenting relationship, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly duplicate this light, and then the duplicates will take on the same settings as the first one. They'll have color, they'll have strength, and then they'll have the parenting relationship. So it's all done for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and flip to top view just so you guys can see. So, all right, so here's my point light, and here is my empty object that controls it. So I'm going to select my point light. This is point light 1. And you might notice if you look over here in the outliner, you may look for the object and you might be saying, hey, where's the lamp? I don't see it. So what's happened, let me zoom in on the outliner view. What's happened is you actually have it right here. You see the little lamp icon and it is kind of highlighted. And what happened is because it became a child of the 3-point light control empty, you have to expand this. So if I click on the little plus symbol, it expands and you'll see there in fact is the point 1 object. And it's a sub-object of 3-point light control. That's because it is parented to it. Okay? Alright, so back to duplication. I'm going to take this child and I'm going to press Shift D, and then I'm going to go ahead and just move it to where I want it to go. And I'm going to want it to go maybe right here in the corner, somewhere right about here. And while I'm at it, I think I'm going to go ahead and select this child and just grab it and move it so it's kind of in sort of a triangular shape. So you can see I've got this sort of this, you can see where I've got them sort of this V shape here. Okay, so if I look at the new light that I just created, okay, so let's look at what it's called. So right now, the light is called, if you look up here in the outliner, it's called 0.1.001, and that's because it was a duplicate. So I need to give it a unique name. So I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and just simply call it 0.2 and hit return. So now that's 0.2. Now I'm going to come down here to the color picker, and I'm going to choose some other color that I like. And I'm going to go ahead and make it some kind of a warm, yellowy yellow color. Okay, and of course you guys can change that all you want. And I'm going to leave the strength at 50. I'm going to then take 0.2 and light, and I'm going to do Shift D, duplicate it, and I'm going to put this one right up here. So what I'm really doing is I'm making kind of a triangle around the 3D object. So you can see that there. Okay, and again, it has all the same settings. It's already parented, and it's just really nice. So I'm going to take this third and final light. I'm going to come up here to the outliner view. I'm going to double click, and I'll call it 0.3. Okay, so that is light 0.3. I can then go ahead and collapse this. So there we are. I'll keep it open just in case. And I choose my third color, and I'm going to go ahead and go with I don't know, maybe a reddish color, so you can see what that looks like. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and save. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to do the animation. But first, let me go ahead and select the empty, and you want to test out and make sure that are all of these lights actually parented. So if I select the empty, and I press G, and I grab them and move them around, you can see that there it is. All the lights are parented, they are moving to it, and you can see in my rendered cycles view that they are in fact following. Okie dokie. Let's see, I think I'm going to take a quick pause, and then I'll go ahead and pick back up, and we'll do the animation on the lights. Okay, picking up from where we left off, I'm now going to go ahead and animate this empty object that controls the lights. So there's nothing at the beginning of the animation. Obviously, we want it to be that the camera does its move, and once the camera comes to a complete stop, that's when we do the light spinning. So, okay, so I'm going to select the okay, so I'm back, and we're going to go ahead and animate this. So I'm going to go ahead and down here at the timeline, I'm going to go ahead and it's rotating, it's not changing any location or anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and with the correct empty selected, I'm going to press I and insert a rotation keyframe. And so there it is there. And then I'm going to go ahead and advance the timeline. And this is where you kind of estimate as an animator. Now you guys have your dope sheet, so you can go ahead and figure out how long the lights spin for. So I'm going to go ahead and set mine right about here. And now I need to change the rotation. So I can do this very much like we did the Y object a while ago. So I'm going to put my mouse pointer over the 3D window. I'm going to press N for number. And I'm going to come up here to where it says the rotation of the object. And I need to figure out what axis am I rotating it on. And if you look, it's the z-axis, so it's the z-axis moving around. So now I just need to figure out how many rotations, how many full rotations do I want to do. And so I'm going to do a very similar thing. I'm going to do 3 rotations. So I'm going to do 360 times, which is the asterisk, 3. And then I'm going to hit return. And again, that's 1080 degrees. And I'm going to go ahead and up here, just press I, and you see that it did it. Or you can do it out here, press I and choose rotation. Okay, so now if I go ahead and I look at this, you'll see that in fact the light will spin around, and you can see in my camera view that the lights are spinning there and everything looks pretty good. Because the lights are parented to the empty and they're children objects, they will go ahead and do what the parent object does. So now what we need to do is we need to animate the light's strength, the intensity, and so that way they will fade out. And then when they fade out, then that's the cue for the cylinders to come in. Okay, so here's how we do it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start off with point 1. So I'm going to select the first point light. So you can select this in your 3D view, or you can select it up here like I did. And we do it down here in the lamp panel, where we see the color and we see the strength, and there we go. So at full strength, I want this light to be at 50, so that's its maximum strength. And then the way to turn off the light is, of course, set the strength at 0. So that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to frame 1, and at frame 1, I'm going to set the strength to be 0, and I'm going to hit return. Okay, I'm back. So I set it at 0, which basically effectively turns off the light. And I'm going to put my mouse pointer over the strength slider here, and I'm going to press I, and that inserts a keyframe for that light. I'm going to just come up here and minimize my dope sheet here just to make it a little easier for visibility. Okay, so that point light, point 1, is at 0 strength for a while. And I'm going to go ahead and advance my timeline and figure out at what point do I want it to, come in. So I think I kind of want it to come in right about here. So I want it to come in right about here, because that's when the 3D is kind of featured. So right about, yeah, so find your frame. Again, you guys can estimate it. Artistically, if you feel like you want to go outside of or away from what the rendered movie shows because you just like it better, then I would say go for it. Okay, that's fine. All right, so I'm on frame 300 here, and I'm going to go ahead and set its strength back up to 50, and you can see now it pops in. And then I'm going to have that take effect, I need to put my mouse pointer over it, press I, and now it has an inserted keyframe. So it's turned off, and if you see it, you'll see over here that it is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That means the light is actually fading in, and that looks okay. So there we go. Light's coming in, and it's fading in. Okay, so that's at frame 300. And I want to do this for all of the other lights. So I'm going to just basically repeat the same thing. So I'm going to select point light number 2. I'm going to go back to frame 1, and I'm going to set its strength to 0. I'm going to press I and insert a keyframe. I'm then going to go to the frame that I want the light to be fully on, and I'm going to set its strength to 50, and then I'm going to go ahead and press I and insert a keyframe. I'll go ahead and repeat with the last light. This is point 3. I'm going to go back to frame 1. I'm going to set its strength to 0. I'm going to insert a keyframe over here. I'm going to go back to 300, frame 300. I'm going to set its strength up to 50, and I'm going to insert a keyframe. Now, if 50 is not bright enough for you, if it's still just not giving you all the colors, you can certainly go beyond 50. I think less is more, and so it's a little bit more subtle, and the 3 colors that I've chosen are kind of blending together, so that's a nice effect. If you want to go, don't make your lights so bright that everything just goes to pure white. That's what will happen if you make them too bright. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this part. You can see that we've got the lights going in, they fade in, and then they are and they're there, and they're fully in there. The only problem now is that they are not fading out. So for me, on frame 300, they're at full strength, and now I need to decide when do they basically disappear, when do they fade out. So I'm going to go ahead and make it that they fade out frame 400. Okay, so I just need to do another keyframe. So I'm going to select point 1. So this is my first point light, and on frame 400, I'm going to set it back down to 0. And I'm going to insert a keyframe, and that's it. So they go from 0 to 50 strength back to 0, and I've just keyframed that. I'm now going to select my second point light, and I'm going to change its strength back to 0. Make sure you're hitting 0 and not O, and I'm going to then insert a keyframe. I'm then going to select my third point light, change its strength back down to 0, make sure you hit return, and I'm going to keyframe that. And you can see the real difference here is that now it's back to the basic blue. So again, just so you can really see it, you see that the lights come in, they do their little bit of their animation, they're spinning, and then they're gone. I'm seeing that when they fade out at frame 400, they're actually still animating. So I think I need to fix that a little bit, so I'll show you that. Yeah, here it is. So what's happening is that the spinning stops at frame 450, but I told them I told the lights to go dark at frame 400. So I really should have them, keep doing their thing until frame 450. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'll fix that using the dope sheet editor. Okay, so I'm going to come up here to the dope sheet editor. I'm going to press A to deselect all, and I'm going to go ahead and start with point light 1. Okay, so right here, if I zoom in, you'll see I have 3 keyframes right here. And if you look right here, that's them fading out on frame 400. So what I'm going to do is if I shift right mouse click, those are the 3 keyframes there. And all I need to do is press G, grab, and I'm going to go ahead and grab them like that. Okay, So now, as I watch, they spin, and then they start fading out. And so by the time they hit frame 450, they should be completely out. Yep, that looks good. Okay, so that's it for this particular part. I'm going to go ahead and in the next part we'll make the 3D fade out and disappear, and then we'll start working on the cylinders. So I will catch up with you in that part.